हेलो स्टूडेंट्स। आज हम जो टॉपिक पढ़ने जा रहे हैं दैट इज मेथड्स ऑफ एस्टिमेटिंग कोरिलेशन। मेथड्स ऑफ एस्टिमेटिंग कोरिलेशन। अगर हमें कोरिलेशन को एस्टिमेट करना है तो व्हाट आर द मेथड्स अवेलेबल फॉर अस। कौन से मेथड्स हमारे पास हैं? जनरली वी हैव थ्री मेथड्स टू मेजर द correlation, to estimate the correlation. We have three methods. We have generally three methods of correlation, of measuring correlation or correlation. नंबर फर्स्ट जो मेथड है हमारे पास दैट इज सेकेटर डायग्राम। सेकेटर डायग्राम जो सेकंड मेथड है दैट इज कॉरल पियर्सन's कोएफिशिएंट ऑफ कोरिलेशन। कॉरल पियर्सन's कोएफिशिएंट ऑफ कोरिलेशन। जो थर्ड मेथड है हमारे पास दैट इज स्पीयरमैन's रैंक कोरिलेशन। Spearman's rank correlation. So these are the three methods of measuring correlation. All these three methods are incorporated in the syllabus of 11th class. So we will discuss one by one how to measure or estimate the correlation through these methods. One is Secretary diagram, Carl Pearson's coefficient of correlation, and third is Spearman's rank correlation or rank difference. So first of all we will take the secateurs diagram. Secateurs diagram method. Secateurs diagram. Secateurs diagram method. What is a secateurs diagram? We must know first what is a secateurs diagram. Secateurs diagram is a graphical expression or representation of the direction and degree of correlation. So, secateurs diagram is such a diagram which is graphical representation of the direction and degree of correlation between the two variables. So it is graphic. It is shown graphically. It is not calculated numerically, but it is shown graphically. Thus, we may write that secateurs diagram is a graphical expression. It is a graphical expression of the direction and degree of correlation. Direction and degree of correlation between two variables. Now, how to make a secateurs diagram? To make a secateurs diagram, to make a secateurs diagram, to make a secateurs diagram, data are plotted on a graph paper. First, the data are plotted on a graph paper. As we already know how to make a graph, there are two axes for a graph. X-axis shows values of x and y-axis shows values of y, or x-axis shows values of one variable and y-axis shows values of another variable. Then we have values for x as well as values for y, or values for one variable, values for another variable. We get a point on the graph. That is the method to plot points on the graph. A dot is marked for each value. A dot is marked for each value. A dot is marked for each value. That is, one dot represents value of x and value of y. The course of these dots, that is the way of these dots, the course of these dots, the course of these dots, shows some possible directions. The course of these dots shows direction and closeness of the variable. The course of these dots shows direction and closeness. Direction and closeness of the variables. We will give some pictures, show some possible directions and degrees of. So we have some pictures given below. Shows some pictures given below shows some directions, some possible directions and degree of closeness or degree of correlation. So this is all about the scatter diagram. Scatter diagram is nothing but a graphical expression of the direction and degree of correlation. So scatter diagram is graphically shown. It graphically shows the degree of correlation between two variables. To make a diagram, how to make a scatter diagram? Here, the data are plotted on a graph paper. A dot is marked for each value. That is, a dot represents the value of x and value of y. The course of the जो रास्ता है इन डॉटों का, it shows whether these dots are positively sloped or negatively sloped. Then they show negative and positive correlation. So the course of these data shows direction and closeness of variables. Some pictures given below show some possible directions and degree of closeness of variables. So this is simple. The meaning as it should be clear. The scatter diagram, closeness of dots towards each other in a particular direction indicate higher degree of correlation. If the dots are scattered, showing neither the closeness nor the direction, it indicates low degree of correlation. One thing we must understood that when we make a graph, we can make a line. Below the line, some points lies, and above the line, some points. Half of the points lies below the line, and half of the points lies above the line. So that line is called a line of best fit. Now the next question is from this scatter diagram, we can make a line which is called a line of best fit. For example, first of all, this is line of best fit. What is this line? First, I will give you example. This is, for example, a scatter diagram. Y shows points of x and OY shows points of y, or OX shows price and OY shows quantity demand. For example, these are the points. Every dot shows values of x and values of y. Every dot. For example, this is a dot. Here it shows value of x and value of y. For example, if we take this point, it shows this much of x and this much of y. Same is the case. For example, we take point this. It shows this much of x and this much of y. So this is the scatter diagram. If we have values, we can make the scatter diagram. This is, for example, this is scatter diagram. From these points, we can make a line. For example, this is a line. which keeps some pointers above the line and some pointers below the line. This line is called a line of best fit. Line of best fit. जिस लाइन के दोनों तरफ half of the point above and half the point is below. तो ये जो डायरेक्शन ऑफ पॉइंट्स यहाँ है ये नेगेटिव है, ये अपोजिट है. So here we can clearly say that this is negative correlation. इसी तरह ये लाइन ऑफ बेस्ट फिट क्या होता है, जिस तरह हमने देखा है, लाइन ऑफ बेस्ट फिट इज द वन, लाइन ऑफ बेस्ट फिट is the one that passes through the sectored points, that passes through the sectored points. So that line which passes through the sectored points such that it represents most of these points. So what is line of best fit? Line of best fit is the one that passes through the sectored pointers such that it represents most of the pointers. ऐसी लाइन जो हम पॉइंटों के बीच में डालते हैं जो मैक्सिमम पॉइंट्स रिप्रेजेंट करते हैं, that represents most of these points, such that it represents most of these points. Roughly we can say that half of the sectored points, roughly half of the sectored points should be on either side of the line. Should be on the either side of the line. So roughly we can say half of the sectored points should be on the either side of the line. So जब हम लाइन डालते हैं, लाइन ऑफ बेस्ट फिट, उसके ऊपर के हिस्से में, एक हिस्से में नेसब पॉइंट, दूसरे हिस्से में नेसब पॉइंट, तो उस लाइन को हम लाइन ऑफ बेस्ट फिट कहते हैं. We have some diagrams for this sector diagram. For example, examples of some sector diagram. For example, we have here a diagram. नई सीरीज से हम बना देंगे अच्छे वाले. अगर ओ एक्स ये है, ओ वाई ये है, तो अगर इस तरह है पॉइंट्स, एक ये है सेकेंडरी डायग्राम, दूसरा ये है, दूसरा ये है. इसी तरह एक ये भी हो सकती है. ये दूसरी लाइन है. इसी तरह और एक हम बनाएंगे. ये है। इसी तरह और एक डायग्राम है हमारे पास। ये है, यहाँ लाइन ऑफ बेस्ट फिट की जरूरत नहीं है। जब इस तरह पॉइंट्स डायरेक्शन ये हो तो उस वक्त और होता है +1। इसको हम कहते हैं परफेक्ट पॉजिटिव कोरिलेशन। परफेक्ट पॉजिटिव कोरिलेशन। अगर ऐसी है तो यहाँ -1 है, इट इज परफेक्ट नेगेटिव कोरिलेशन। नेगेटिव कोरिलेशन। इसी तरह अगर ये है तो ये है पॉजिटिव कोरिलेशन। इसको हम सिंपली कहते हैं पॉजिटिव कोरिलेशन। अगर ये है, सॉरी ये है नेगेटिव कोरिलेशन, सॉरी ये है नेगेटिव कोरिलेशन। ये है नेगेटिव और ये है पॉजिटिव। ठीक 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 ठीक, ये है नेगेटिव कोरिलेशन। नेगेटिव कोरिलेशन क्योंकि पॉइंट्स अपोजिट डायरेक्शन में है। तो यहां है दिस इज नो कोरिलेशन, एब्सेंस ऑफ कोरिलेशन, और कोरिलेशन और इज इक्वल टू 0। यहां और 0 है। So these are different directions of pointers. So on the basis of directions of pointers and closeness of pointers, we reached the conclusion that what is the degree of correlation. जब इस तरह है तो पॉजिटिव कोरिलेशन है, इस तरह है तो नेगेटिव कोरिलेशन है। तो अब लाइन ऑफ बेस्ट फिट की बात है। अगर ऐसे पॉइंट्स हैं तो हम एक लाइन डालते हैं बीच में, जिसके हाफ पॉइंट्स जो हैं वो बिलो द लाइन रहते हैं, हाफ पॉइंट्स अबो द लाइन रहते हैं। इस लाइन को हम लाइन ऑफ बेस्ट फिट कहते हैं। इसी तरह इसमें हम लाइन ऑफ बेस्ट फिट बना सकते हैं। ये है लाइन ऑफ बेस्ट फिट। तो यहाँ लाइन ऑफ बेस्ट फिट नहीं बनेगा तो यहाँ कोरिलेशन ही नहीं है। सो दिस इज ऑल अबाउट द scattered diagram, how to see or measure, how to see the direction of the pointers, how to see the correlation on the basis of scattered diagram when pointers are scattered in a graph paper. Thank you very much. तो अब हम मेरिट्स एंड डिमेरिट्स की बात करेंगे दूसरे